Hi, I'm Craig Bell.
And I'm John Perkins.
John, I love old stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I'm an old soul in a young body. Okay, it's an old body, but
Yeah.
but what's the oldest sin ever, John?
What's that?
The oldest sin ever. It'd have to be self-love. I mean, if you think about it,
Yeah.
Satan wanted to exalt himself above God,
yeah.
and that was his plan for Adam and Eve. You know, what makes you feel good, or you'll be wiser, and he still plays that play today, self-love. So we'll talk about that on Take 5.
Food for the soul, helping you to thrive. 5 minutes to renew your mind. Take 5.
The passenger steamer SS Warramoo was sailing on its way through the mid-Pacific from Vancouver to Australia. The navigator, John, had just finished working out a star fix and brought Captain John Phillips the result. The date was December 31st, 1899. He said, you know what that means? We're only a few miles from the place where the equator and the international date line intersect. They took advantage of it all, John, and they sped their ship towards a slightly adjusted route. And at midnight, they were positioned exactly over the intersection point of the equator and the international date line. And here's the result. Because of that, at that very moment, the bow of the ship was in the southern hemisphere and in the middle of summer. The stern was in the northern hemisphere and in the middle of winter. The date in the aft part of the ship was December 31st, 1899. The date in the forward part of the ship was January 1st, 1900. The ship was therefore in 2 different days, 2 different months, 2 different years, 2 different seasons, and 2 different centuries all at the same time. There's a lot of people, John, trying to be 2 ways at once.
Yeah.
And those 2 ways are Christian, God-loving, and self-loving.
Yes.
And those 2 never combine. You know, the Bible talks about in 2 Timothy chapter 3 about the danger of self-love. It says, this know also that in the last days perilous times shall come, or difficult times, because men will be lovers of their own selves. And then he goes into this list of what self-love looks like. And it's a long list. First thing on the list, John, is covetous.
Yeah.
Is the thought that it's never enough. You know, you always want more. And self is a hungry thing.
You just can't satisfy yourself.
And then he says boasters, making yourself look good. Proud is all about self.
You're so good, and you want everybody else to know that you're so good.
Oh, yeah. You got to make your fake book of profile look
Yeah.
pretty good. Your Insta scam look good. He talks about blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful. And the thought behind that is, well, I deserve it.
Yeah.
Me. You know, I mean, I don't need to be thankful for this. This is what my rights are. Unholy, because, you know, it's all about me. Without natural affection, John. That speaks a lot, doesn't it? Because there's a lot of ways our society is all out to kilter on their affections.
Yeah.
Truce breakers. You know, where your word's not any good. False accusers, because if I can accuse you, make myself look good, you know, hey, all about self-love here. Incontinent. Incontinent means without self-control.
Yeah.
So it's talking about your self-love is just completely running rampant, out of control. And then it says fierce. People will be fierce. And the thought of that word, savage, it's a savage word. You know, people are so angry these days.
Yeah.
It's all about self-love.
You done them wrong.
Yeah, looking out for number one, right?
Yeah.
And not only fierce, but despisers of people that are good. I mean, you know, they don't even, it's not about being tolerant of different ideas. It's about, hey, your idea makes me feel bad, so shut them off, you know, silence them. Traitors, heady, high-minded, lovers of pleasure more than lovers of God, having a form of godliness but denying the power of it. You know, this is all the things of a self-love society.
You remember the story, Brother Craig, when the man came to Jesus and he asked him, what can I do to have eternal life? So it's still about him. And so many times today, people's trying to worship God, but it's making it all about them.
And in fact, when his response was, have you kept the commandments? He's like, oh, I have done that.
I've done that.
I've done it. But salvation isn't about I, it's about God.
Galatians chapter 3 and verse 6 says, if a man thinketh himself to be something when he's nothing, he deceives. There's been a lot of people being deceived by theirself.
So, John, the solution is that we crucify ourself and our affections. Galatians 5:24 and 25 says, they that are Christ's have crucified the flesh with the affections and lusts. If we live in the Spirit, let us also walk in the Spirit.
Yes.